Dear all, welcome to Simplifying B2B2X Business with NextGen BSS webinar organized jointly by Comarch, the leading provider of OSS BSS solutions for telco operators. With us today, we have Anna Kozlowska-Jaros and Bartholomew Kordas, BSS product managers from Comarch, who will be discussing some very interesting insights on B2B2X models for 5G monetization. Before we move on to the presentation, if you have any questions during the webinar, you can click the Q&A tab at the bottom of the screen and type in your questions. The presenters will answer these at the end of the session. Okay, let's begin. Over to Anna and Bartek.
Thank you, Tara. Welcome all. My name is Anna and I'm BSS product manager at Comarch. I'm responsible for revenue management and monetization solutions. And today with Bartek, we'll be talking about looking for new revenue streams by service providers. We'll be talking about two main areas and two main services. The first one is connected with VPN connections. I'm thinking here about the software-defined wide area networks, which came to the market some time ago, in fact. And the second one is connected with 5G technology and some new opportunities which it brings to the market. And here we are thinking about services which are built on network slicing, on private networks. We'll be talking about the challenges for service providers in providing such complex services. But we will be also talking about how next generation BSS, in fact, is important to be in place. Both groups, they are totally different. In fact, as you may know, they address totally different customer needs. But we can find out some similarities, some common touch points from the service provider perspective, as well from the expectations regarding the BSS systems. Both of them are very technical and network-oriented. And of course, the network is important here, for sure. It must be activated, it must be managed in a smart way. But connectivity is not enough. Our service providers need to find out some new use cases and find out how to monetize these new services and new opportunities which came to the market. Some of your use cases are quite known and broadly discussed. I'm thinking here about the autonomous driving, about smart factories, e-health monitoring, or AI VR solutions. And network here, of course, it's very important, but we must think about the customer. Not only about consumer this time, because such complex services usually will be dedicated for enterprise customers, because they are the main recipients of them. But here, I think that we can risk the thesis that, in fact, next generation BSS is a key enabler for service providers' success. Because our customers will use this, and also our service provider needs to have next generation BSS in place to be able to support such complex services, and also cooperation between various partners which came here. Because in 5G world, we are thinking about not only connectivity, but also some other applications. And it is very important to be able to provide them via different partners and cooperate with them smoothly. Of course, there are many challenges, and Bartek will tell more about them.
Yeah, thanks, Anna. Welcome, everybody. I'm very pleased to be here and eager to share with you some of the Comarch experiences in the enterprise market segment. My name is Bartek and I'm BSS product manager at telco division at Comarch. My main area of expertise circles around customer, employee and partner facing telco specific apps and optimization of business processes in our BSS suite. So our subject for today's webinar is enterprise segment, where, as Anna mentioned, service providers intensively look for new revenue streams. And if we think about enterprises, then we must think about complex network services. And for such services, simply B2B model is not good enough. There's always B2B2X context with a network of partners. Practical use cases for some of the services we have already on the market for quite a time. The good example here would be a connectivity-related use cases for global enterprises with branches all over the world. Other use cases, they relate to new technologies, to just name a few: 5G, slicing, private networks, edge, but they are still emerging. So to deliver this kind of services to the enterprise smoothly, well, that's challenging both service providers and software vendors. Even if we look on some of the market reports that relates to BSS systems capabilities, like Market Guide from Gartner, we can see how big pressure in R&D developments vendors put on the effort related to capabilities like B2B marketplace, like simplification of complex orders, or partner management. So let's have a look on some of these challenges. The first big challenge to overcome here is the complexity of the network itself. So in other words, how to transform this complexity of the network into business eatable products. Because customers, they don't really want to buy technology, 5G, slices, NFVs, nor SD-WANs. They want connectivity, availability, security adapted to what they really need, served at the agreed level, and delivered on requested time. And all these features, they need to be modeled with and bundled with over-the-top services. So this is something that really puts actual value on the table, and they should be available as click-to-buy products. Second of all, 5G, it's a partner game. True 5G expansion is still ahead of us, but very similar challenges we as Comarch already have when it goes to delivering connectivity for global enterprises. One of the practical business models is that service provider delivers backbone network, but to be able to connect enterprise premises in various areas of the world, he needs a partner to deliver access locally. These partners, they may be other service provider, local equipment providers, but also hyperscalers. At the same partner, he might play different roles in such ecosystem. He could be a reseller, he can be a local access provider. So another aspect to address in such of an ecosystem is properly model multi-tenancy. So reseller access only their customers, but they still should be able to sell vendor products or subset of that products. Same goes to suppliers. And partners, they have role-based access to the catalog. So they don't want to necessarily share the innovation with other providers in the ecosystem. On the top of it, we have a marketplace owned by CSP, and this is the real enabler of different players' creativity. To really make money and not just constantly introduce new technologies, telecoms, they must expose their catalogs and let creative companies, small startups, to make apps over these technologies. So marketplace is the spot where partners can publish and enterprise customers can consume the services. So I guess the key message from that section is importance of multi-layer modeling, from the service to products until business models operating on the partner network. Once we have a proper model established, next set of changes relates to its execution in such of the ecosystem of parties who either provides or consumes the products. It all comes down to the multi-level orchestration of all involved parties, starting from onboarding, both customer and partners, multi-site agreements between service provider, his partners, and enterprise customers. Another important aspect is orchestration of quotes, orders, and fulfillment, including purchasing required services from partners. Enterprise-level services, well, they certainly bring a completely different set of challenges because they are often delivered in complex and long-running orders. So AI-driven automation, it plays a very important role here, from delivering of the quote through selecting parameterization of the product bought by the customer, then to selecting the right partner to deliver this product, and later automatization and optimization of fulfillment processes. At the end of the chain, there is of course money, and again we have a kind of orchestration required in the money distribution. So service provider has to settle with his partners for delivered services or hardware and issue invoices to the customers. That invoices should include cost he needs to pay. Last but not least is digitalization of the platform to enable self-service use cases for both partners and enterprise customers. Most of the challenges that were mentioned here, they are strictly related to the role of service provider BSS system. So now let's have a look on some use cases to better illustrate those challenges and how we address those in the BSS systems. We are going to show two use cases for different kinds of services. They should well demonstrate importance of partner play in delivery of such enterprise level services. Anna, can you please take over from here and show the first use case?
Yes, thank you, Bartek. So the first case study will be about the next generation stadium, which is based on 5G technology. In this use case, our global service provider is responsible for providing such next generation stadium service to enterprise customers. What's important here, our owner of the stadium, he doesn't want to cooperate with infrastructure suppliers or OTT players in order to get the full picture, the end-to-end service. He would like to just to go to one player and buy everything. But what is the goal here? The goal here is that our owner of the stadium would like to organize the football match. But during this match, he would like to, first of all, provide a great connectivity during the whole event. So all football fans will have the great connectivity of the internet. So that's the one thing. But secondly, our owner of the stadium would like that football fans will have the great perception of the whole event. That's why he would like to provide them some additional features, additional applications, even AR/VR solution, meaning that our football fans will be able during the whole match see how the players looks like with the names, speed, capacity of them. They will be also able to find out easily the seat at the stadium, and they will be able to find out the food during the whole match. So that's the goal of our owner of the stadium, to provide such great perception during the whole event for the consumers. But we must think here about our service provider. So how to do this? How to provide such great end-to-end service to our enterprise customer in easy way, in fact. Because behind the scene, behind this next generation stadium, we need to have some infrastructure around the stadium in order to provide such great connectivity. We need to have also some specialized applications for football fans, which they can later on use them. So our service provider needs to cooperate with some players. He needs to cooperate with infrastructure supplier. So basically, he will be responsible for installation of some network elements around the stadium, and later on maybe for the maintenance of this. And we have our OTT players, because they provide in fact the specialized applications. Service provider doesn't have any idea what type of applications he can provide, and he is not responsible for this, but he grabs all pieces together and provides such service to our owner of the stadium. And finally, we have our football fans. We are happy during the whole event. But as you may know, it is not only about the connectivity, the whole picture. The whole picture is about the cooperation, how the service provider will cooperate with parties and also with enterprise customers. Because our owner of the stadium, as well as television, who will make the transmission during the whole event, they would like to go to the marketplace and simply buy the service. It doesn't matter for them what is behind, and if there are any very complex processes, how the service provider cooperates with partners. From their perspective, it should be quite easy. Even via this marketplace, they would like to buy some additional options like football fan space, and just make this enabled for football fans during the whole event. So, as you may know, behind this next generation stadium, which is visible via the marketplace to our enterprise customer, we can see next generation stadium with some options like fan space, AIVR, smart parking. But behind this, we have the whole network, the whole complexity. And now it is the main role of the BSS systems how to model such complex and technical product in business way, in fact. Yes, because our enterprise customer, he doesn't want to know even what in fact should be activated in the network, what type of the network slice he should activate. From his perspective, only the great connectivity is important. And maybe he knows how many fans will be during the match, but maybe not. And he should be able to extend such product in a very simple and easy way. So even if we sell this next generation stadium for some portion of funds, later on he should be able to extend such a service. So it is very important to be able to, first of all, model such service at the level of BSS systems, make this available for enterprise customers, but also decompose this in automatic way and transfer it to the network. So all technical parameters which we have here, like quality of the service, capacity, like SLA also which is connected with this, all of them must be transferred to the network in a smooth way. That's why here artificial intelligence is very important, starting from customer order up to activation in the network in a smooth and automatic way. And finally, we go to the moment when we have settlements. As you saw at the very beginning, we have many players, and our service provider needs to cooperate with them. We have suppliers, we have OTT players, and we have our enterprise customers. So it is important to be able to model all of them, in fact, in BSS systems in a very flexible way. All of them should be modeled with appropriate roles and also access to appropriate systems and features in systems. Let's take an example. Our service provider buys something from infrastructure supplier, and somehow he needs to pay for it. So probably we will have charges calculated based on installation or based on maintenance. On the other side, we have OTT players, and OTT players probably will get the money for each application, but maybe we can imagine more complex settlement. So for each application which will be used by our football fans, in fact, our service provider must outpay something to this third-party player. Then we have our enterprise customers. With television, it is quite simple thing because it will pay just for connectivity. But in the case of the stadium owner, it may be quite complex because, of course, he bought next generation stadium, but maybe in place we have some additional options, maybe not, and he should pay also depending on the capacity, quality, and SLA based on the agreement which was signed with service provider. So as you can see here, many types of models, how charges will be created and calculated, we make here. We have some prices, but we have also some costs. And at the end of the day, we need to create financial documents. So based on some financial documents, our service provider gives some money to partners, but takes some money from customers. And it's quite important that in some cases, even we have to think about multi-currency in case of such financial documents. But it is not so new when we have so many players in place. And Bartek will tell you about the second use case, which is connected with providing the VPN connection around the globe. And you will see some similarities.
Okay, Anna, let me take it from here. That was very insightful and quite futuristic. I'll continue now with the business model, maybe a bit more mundane, but the one we know well on the market with a few of our customers. On one side, it is very different in terms of services that are being delivered and managed, but on the other side, It's very similar where it goes to the overall idea, required BSS capabilities, and role various players play in such of an ecosystem. So let's imagine we have a global enterprise with headquarters in Germany. We have an enterprise customer who needs to connect all his branches in Germany, Italy, Spain, and in the USA. So customer wants the connectivity, but he has also some additional requirements. He wants the service with different SLA levels for his divisions. For the mission critical operation, high availability is required. Also, different departments, they should be connected in sub-networks. For instance, marketing does not need to access procurement network. So our customer goes to his local service provider in Germany. Service provider can start acting as usual, making the calls to all his partners via his international division all over the world. And in a few days, customer knows the price for the service, and hopefully in some weeks or months afterwards, customer has its premises connected. But there is another way. Obviously, there is no service provider in the world who can provide such service in any particular region of the world by himself. But yet, let's say we have a global service provider who delivers backbone network over the world, or maybe even in certain region he operates. He needs a partner or partners who will deliver local access and who will provide enterprise customer with the service, installation of equipment, or local support. This partner, they add their services to global provider marketplace, but in fact, some of them also operate on the other side of the chain as the resellers. So with proper support from global provider systems, instead of making these calls to various regions in the world to get the estimates for the customer, reseller in Germany can make just few clicks in the portal, or even the customer himself can make these clicks. So in order to do so, next slide, the proper catalog modeling is in place. The kind of modeling that covers the complexity of the network with business products. The sample model we can see here, and we have it in use in our projects, where we have business products that represents real customer need. So customer determines at the level of his premises what kind of local access is required. This is represented here by redundant or simple products. Redundant access provides secure double links via both Internet and Ethernet private lines, and they are provided by local partners. So in fact, they are purchased by global service provider straight out of the customer order. So depending on the location, the proper hub is determined, which represents here SD1 access. So these products are directly sold by global service provider. On the top of it, we have VPN, which is also provided by global service provider who owns the backbone network. These VPNs, they may be multiplied as sub-VPNs to separate access to resources. So we have two here on the picture. One is for procurement and the other is for marketing department. Sub-VPNs represents here VRFs, and they are connected via product links to appropriate premises. This allows later on for automatic configuration of CPEs. So with this kind of modeling, customer just enters basic information about his location, types of connection, either it's simple or redundant, lists sub-VPNs and gets the quote instantly. So in many cases, this happens fully automatically, without even contacting partners, just using default catalog configuration with prices and costs. Later on, when quote becomes an order, depending on the region, purchase orders and service agreements for appropriate partners are generated, and final contract is delivered. Later on, These orders are decomposed and sent to fulfillment to all required parties. From the other angle, let's have a quick look on the agreements and settlements among all these parties in this ecosystem. There are various types of agreement in such ecosystem. There are frame agreements between global service provider and local access providers to determine what services and in what regions are being provided by the partner, and they are published in the marketplace. During processing of particular customer order, a part of service agreement creation for the customer, there is also service agreement for local partner or partners created. These agreements are correlated to each other to assure that the service is continuously maintained for the enterprise customer. And in terms of settlements among these parties, they are also multi-sided. For certain order, anti-invoices that includes costs are generated for partners and also final invoices to the customer. This, in fact, creates very particular and strict requirements and strong need of a capable billing system for global service provider to handle finances on all levels. This also includes multi-currency settlements. So that concludes the second use case we'd like to share. Hope you can see now that required BSS capabilities are not really connected to particular type of products. They are rather common among all these different services. Now let's try to summarize these key BSS capabilities. Dana, back to you.
Yes, thank you, Bartek. As you saw, based on both use cases, the role of the next generation BSS is quite important to be able to support such complex services and provide them to enterprise customers. And it doesn't matter if the service is based on 5G technology or if this is based on the SD-WAN technology, but it is quite complex process to cooperate with partners and provide, in fact, at the end of the day, appropriate financial documents. So the role of the next generation BSS is very huge, and it must support not only service providers, but also it needs to provide some functional blocks for customers, for enterprise customers, and for partners. And here we can talk a bit about such functionalities which must be provided. When we look at the side of the service provider, for sure it is important how to model such complex network-oriented products, how to decompose them up to CFSs and RFSs, and how to finally sell them as a simple product to customers. So that's the role of Enterprise Catalog, being able to model services which are currently on the market, but also be prepared for the future. So there shouldn't be any limitations, what type of parameters we can put there, or how the composition will look like. But for this decomposition, is responsible, in fact, this AI-driven order management with fulfillment. So here we have all this magic which is happening when our customer purchases the business product and it is transformed to the network-oriented elements with fully network technical parameters which has to be sent to the network and appropriate elements must be activated. Then, as you saw in both use cases, we have many players and all of them needs to be modeled in flexible way in party information management. And it is quite important to have this model to be done in very flexible way because as you saw, many players we can have. And depending on the use case and the service, these players can appear, it can be the reseller, it can be partner, OTT player. So depending what relationship will be done between the service provider and various partners. And finally, at the end of the day, we must be prepared for various types of settlements and models, how charges will be calculated and created. And here also, only the sky has some limits. Here, in fact, we need to be prepared for any type of the models because service providers are looking for new use cases, how to monetize new opportunities which brings 5G technology and probably in a minute will be 6G technology. So we must be prepared for this. And on the other side, we have applications more dedicated, let's say, for customers, for partners, resellers. So the thing is about the marketplace. That's the clue. To be able to put there any type of application, which later on will be available for customers and consumers, and it must be manageable in a very simple way. On the other side, we have enterprise portal. And this portal can be used by resellers, partners, as well as by enterprise customers. So this is the place where just enterprise customer is able to log in, to check products, to extend the capacity of the network which is required, of course in a transparent way from his perspective, and be able to monitor even the network, the status of the network, and maybe what is required more. But simply, it should be also possible to check just financial status of his account. So as you see, we have a lot of functional blocks, which in fact brings the money to the service provider, because thanks to them, he is able to sell so complex services to enterprise customers and manage this whole ecosystem. It's important that all these functions, they need to provide open API. And here we come to standardization, because it's very important how to integrate them with each other and also how to integrate them with the whole ecosystem which is in place. And when we are thinking about standardization, we need to think also about the network, because their standardization is also in place. How the radio should be connected, how core element network should be connected. So everything is very important and must be provided in a standardized way. So to summarize, as we see, next generation BSS is something what is a must for service provider to be able to sell such complex services in a simple way, what's very important, and be able to decompose this in automatic way and send appropriate information to the network and activate those services. And it is a quite important thing also that it must be prepared not only what we have currently on the market, but be prepared for the future. And that concludes our presentation for today. Thank you.
Great, that was very insightful. The B2B2X is already gaining a lot of traction as customized solutions for various verticals see increasing demand. Okay, let's go to the Q&A session. Our first question is for Bartek. The question is, enterprise customers always have their own requirements that are often very specific. In your experience at Comarch, with various CSPs serving large enterprise customers, is it even possible to deliver such solutions without a high degree of system customization?
Okay, this is indeed a very good question. And yes, this is very true. There is so many quite different business models that we see on the market, and sometimes it's very challenging, and this especially in the BSS area, to convince customer to your way of working. The usually good answer are standards and standard-based approach. Not so many customers argue with this. If we say our approach is standard-based, like based on TMF open APIs and other open frameworks, that's something that helps to find some compromises here. But another important thing when working with enterprise segment is flexibility. I mean flexibility in terms of products, party models, agreements, or settlement models. Too high flexibility, however, it comes with some price. With such a wide configuration capabilities where system is completely open, it becomes complex and pretty difficult to configure and later maintain. That's why what we learn through various projects, and this is equally important to flexibility, is out-of-the-box approach. So ready to use pre-configured products, customer, partner, or agreement models. This makes a very good start for each project. It's way easier to start something that is ready to present and discuss during the course of such project. well, sure, it needs to be later on tuned for specific requirements, but you do not start with the blank page. Hope that clarifies. Back to you, Tara.
Thanks, Bartek. That explains it very well. So our second question, this time for Anna, is you presented two totally different services, one related to SD-WAN and the other to 5G. As we know, they require many technical parameters which have to be propagated to the network. It seems that modeling here is the key, right?
Yes, exactly. As you mentioned, we presented two use cases, and both of them were based on a very technical network-oriented services, in fact. And the key thing is how to provide such a service to a customer in a simple way when in fact it is network-oriented product. When there is a whole complexity, what should be activated, how it should be activated on the network. You can imagine the business customer who comes and would like to have the VPN connection. He doesn't know what technically is behind. Yes, so that's the clue of the modeling. Sell simple or redundant connection as a VPN connection, but behind we have all technical parameters which need to be modeled in appropriate way and sent to the fulfillment what it is required. On the other hand, we had this 5G and next generation stadium service. And also, here we need to think about some slices with appropriate templates which should be selected when the customer buys just the business product. And that's the key thing, how to model such next generation stadium when in fact behind we have the network. We need to select appropriate template of the slice if better bandwidth is required or lower latency. So that's the challenge, how to push this information to the network based on the information that our enterprise customer would like to just buy next generation stadium.
Excellent. Our last question for Bartek is, you emphasized the importance of partner play a few times in the delivery of enterprise level services. Is it fair to say that this is the BSS capability that is most challenging in your projects?
Well, it's true. This is always a crucial part of such projects. I mean, the projects where we deliver enterprise level services. Something that is one of the most important foundations that sets the ground in each particular project. And CSPs we cooperate with, they have often very different business models, especially when it comes to delivering of enterprise level services. Even when it comes to delivering the same kind of service over different CSPs, we have completely different models. That's why it is so important to have the flexible party and product model based on the open standards. In addition, such ecosystem, it creates very strong requirements for multi-tenancy, where we have so many different parties that uses the same system. So depending on the requirement and type of partnership, our customers, they require logical or physical separation of data among these different players. So yes, it's challenging, but at the same time, next generation BSS systems, they must be ready for it as in the 5G or later in 6G area. Hope that clarifies this one.
Okay, we still have some questions, but these will require a bit more time. So Anna and Bartek will email you with the answers. And for those who want to learn more, the Comarch team will be more than happy to provide you with the information. We'll be sending you the contact links along with the presentation slides and recorded webinar video in the next 24 hours. So do keep an eye out for our email. So I guess we have arrived at the end of the session. Thank you so much, Anna and Bartek, for your time and for the information.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to share with you our thoughts and experience, and thank you for participating.
Thanks for having us here. It was really a pleasure to share our experiences in the enterprise segment. But we strongly believe in Comarch that this is the key market segment for future telecoms. And also for us as vendors, this is
Yes, thank you everyone for attending and participating. For more information on B2B2X business models and Comarch solutions in this space, please visit bit.ly/B2B2X. Have a great rest of the day and see you all again in our next webinar.